So she's gone. Victoria Alonso is out of the door. But when we stop partying, we've got to ask ourselves some questions. Like, who is going to replace her? Bonjour. So yes, of course it's good news. Of course it's good news. She's out. But I've got to admit, and I know this was yesterday, so I'm not kind of dressing this up as like, oh my God, have you heard? I want to just ask, I want to just see if we can get something going here about, like, just kind of collect our thoughts a little bit rather than just jump around in the air and say, yay, she's gone. Because it is all good news. Now, she is obviously someone at Disney has done the maths here, because Iger has announced recently to the stock market that the company has got to shed this year $5.5 billion in expenses. $3 billion is coming out of the pot for new productions. So the other $2.5 billion has got to come from layoffs or maybe assets being sold off and etc. Now, in and of itself, as much as we're cheering Alonso, and I think Kathleen Kennedy will be next, I've got a feeling that's going to be accelerated as well, because someone's done the maths and they've realised that the quickest, easiest way to save money is to chop off the thickest rotten branches of this tree, the most expensive, the heaviest weight, the heaviest burden on this company. And they have been for a long while. You know, let's get Kathleen Kennedy into this, the rot that they've set in on both sides. So Kathleen Kennedy as president of Lucasfilm and Alonso as president of post-production and VFX. I think the official title, president of physical post-production, VFX and animation. So for Marvel Limited. Now, so yes, it is good news, but don't forget, there's going to be sad news here because people's jobs are on the line now. Down to these people, down to those two, and down to Iger and Chapek. People are going to lose their jobs. And that is, I think that has to be spoken about as well. Amidst the joy that we feel because of the harm that those four have brought to some of the most beloved IPs of all time. Anyway, I just thought I would mention that. And don't forget that job. Now, does that mean, now it couldn't get any worse, could it? It couldn't get any worse. But don't forget, she's been in situ at Disney since Iron Man. In fact, yeah, I think that was her first film as exec producer, since 2008. So the rot is there. You can't just get rid of her and expect that everything is like an elastic band is just going to return back to normal. So just a few things that I've been pondering about, reflecting on the good news, and it is good news, because when you look at the list since Endgame that she's presided over, and just think about what she's president of, VFX and animation. And since Endgame, that was all good. We will only know in the fullness of time how all those films from Iron Man to Endgame all fell together, with people like Victoria Alonso banging on about certain things all the time, and Feige behind the scenes kind of enabling her, and Iger and Chapek just leaving everyone to it. How it got to that, I don't think we fully appreciate the Russo brothers' importance in all of that. Not for the whole time, but I've got a feeling it was a bit like the government of a country that fumbles through and does some good things despite themselves, because no government or any country wants to do anything good for the people, they're just in it for themselves. And so are this lot. But along the way, they just happened to make a few good, really good films. And I think it was more luck than judgment, particularly at the beginning. Towards the end, I think they had a loose plan. But since Endgame, now, and I know we can't quantify, when I reel off this list, I know we can't quantify the Dismal Minus shows as either success or failure. But we do know that Dismal Minus, in the past couple of years, the streaming service, has lost money and lost subscribers. This is a business to earn profit. This is a business to earn profit for shareholders. And it's got to be a huge warning for Kathleen Kennedy, because these two women have presided over some of the biggest bombs, the biggest loss-making films, as well as the crap TV that's lost subscribers. So heads have got to roll, and deservedly so. They deserve it. She presided over as executive producer on WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, What If, Eternals, Hawkeye, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight, Thor Love and Thunder, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the Guardians Holiday Special recently, and Ant-Man Quantumania. No wonder she's out the door. And good riddance. Good riddance, because even if you focus on the effects in these so-called productions, it is subpar. It literally is subpar for a company of, even if any of these were any good. And I know the first couple, like WandaVision, a lot of people liked it, and Loki, but come on, who heralds WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier or Loki as great examples of TV? Have we gone back and rewatched any of them? Has anyone gone back to Hawkeye? Like, what I'm saying is, even if you enjoyed it the first time round, if you enjoy it, who's gone back to it? No one's going back to it. And this is just Marvel. And Kennedy is presiding over the death of Star Wars. So, like I keep saying, good riddance to them. Good riddance. But what did they actually do? Which this might be a good way of thinking about it, because obviously I've had all these questions. I've got to air them, because some of you out there, and please comment. And on that note, please like, subscribe, comment, because the YouTube at the moment for us lower down creators really isn't helping us out at all. So we really need you. I'd really appreciate it if anyone out there can help out, if you're stuck with this video so far. What did she actually do? If she can't get the post-production and the VFX right, and she's the president of it, like when you looked at some of the lame VFX in these shows and films, my God, if she can't do that, then she's got to go, hasn't she? And it's funny that she hasn't come out kind of kicking and screaming, railing against it, like a bit like Kathleen Kennedy is kind of trying to cling on. You know, like with the announcement about Damon Lindelof doing the Star Wars film. She's really clinging on, like, to try and justify her job. She's really going to go kicking and screaming, that one. But it's like Alonso's been there 15 odd years, and it's like 17 years, whatever it is, and then just going, oh, all right. Walk off into the sunset with her wife and their daughter. Not that that's anything to do with it, but you could see that her personal politics were colouring what should be objective business decisions. Business at the level she was at. You can't be thinking like one of the Purple Hair Brigade, one of the Alphabet Brigade. You have got to be objectively earning your employer serious money. They're spending serious money, and this is where it's all gone wrong from. And about time too. About time too. And don't get me wrong, I am cheering a big hurrah here for good riddance to this woman. So where does it leave us? So what we've got is, I mean, Guardians let's face it, that's going to be a big hit because it's the end. You know, I think a few of them die, or half the team die, or all of them die but one. But anyway, that's going to be quite an emotional send off, and you know that'd be the third in a film that I think it's got, in a way, has got its own fan base. In a way, I don't know why I think that in a peculiar way. I think they've kind of got a deep rooted non-comic fan base, whereas all the other Marvel stuff, I think, you know, you've got your comic fans, or did have, to Endgame. I don't know who watches them now. What kind of, call them a cult, I suppose, fans of this Marvel bilge now. So you've got these films that are already been produced, but who is going to come along and take up the reins, and what will be the first film that gets, so they're going to sweep the decks. They're going to sweep the decks. Like, I think it looks like Iger is literally sweeping, and he's got to. He cannot faff around at the moment with 5.5 billion. The quicker you do it, you know, like pulling off that plaster, the quicker you do it, the short, sharp pain of it, get them heads rolling, give them their severance pay, and off they wander into the night. But so where's it all leading? You've got Guardians coming out, which I think is going to earn some dough. That's fine. This is all stuff that's already been done. Indiana Jones 5, already been done, but pushed back post-production because of the dire test screenings they were doing. But that's on Kathleen Kennedy. But I'm in no doubt. Let's see how close I am. Within a month or so, I think our Red's going to be rolling as well. If not, if not after Indy's out, she's gone. Because, like I say, the longer they stay on, the more, God knows what kind of salary these people are on. Plus stock shares, well, not that the stock's worth anything at the moment, so I hope half their wages is in stocks, because they've been losing money for the past 2 years, like I have, may I add. Don't get me wrong, I've only got literally a handful of shares. I am not a massive shareholder that goes to the AGMs. And the Marvels, which is really, that's the prodigal child of Alonso and Feige, isn't it? That is the culmination of all of this absolute dire, creatively bankrupt, agenda swilling poo. Wish I'd written down a better description than that. I'd rather not have ended up on poo. Anyway, it is. It just is. So they're the three off the top of my head. What's going to be next for Marvel now? How? I really do hope that he is sweeping the decks, Iger. We can also never lose sight of the fact that Iger is the one that kind of promoted this bad for business model in the first place, by encouraging Feige, by encouraging Kathleen Kennedy, and encouraging them and Victoria Alonso. Like, why would they wheel out Victoria Alonso on the red carpet of the things like the Eternals, where she'd be interviewed and about the inclusion and diversity? But she's the president of effects, so why are they allowing this? Because the whole lot of them at the top, those four that I mentioned earlier, Iger, Chapek, Kennedy, and Alonso, and then all their subordinates, and let's hope all those heads are rolling as well, because they allowed this fire. They oxygenated the flames of their insanity in order to burn Marvel down, cinematically and televisually. So, all I'm going to do is, throw open all these questions. What did they do? Who's coming next? What do you think is going to be the first production, TV or film? Because we've got to really be at a point now where they used to give us these phase 4, 5, 6, 7 films and TV shows coming out in 2026 and 2027 and building up, like I was talking to Space Lizard about the other day, about the next Avengers films and all that. I think we've got to assume that they have literally gone into Alonso's office, and where she might have written all these films down on the board, they've just wiped all that clean. Because one thing is they haven't got the money and they're trying to lose $5.5 billion off the balance sheet. sorry, not lose, save 5.5 billion off the balance sheet. And Alonso, and we're not hearing anything, are we? Normally, if you've got these 3 films, amongst others, I'm sure there's ones I've forgotten. There's TV series coming out. The Secret Invasion one, I mean, you know, that's in the can, and I think that's the next Marvel one, and probably a couple of specials I'm forgetting. But, you know, like a Moon Knight Series 2. Have we heard anything about that? We're hearing rumours about Daredevil, you know, little rumours coming out about the filming of it. We all know where that one's going, don't we? We literally already know where that one's going, just on the evidence from She-Hulk. Look how that went. So, what is next? What do you think is going to be next? Do you think they might just reboot it? Just cancel everything, a bit like Warner Brothers has done on the other side of the road. You know, with Shazam just come out and The Flash, that's it, they're starting again. They're not talking about phases either, which I think is a good idea. I think it's a good idea. Who cares if it's phase 3, 4, 5, 6? Do some films all connected. Yeah, that's great. And I do think that is a good business model. Because when you've got when you've got a film that isn't quite up to snuff, such as, I don't know, say like the first Ant-Man, it was a nice palate cleanser in between all the serious stuff going on, all the mega universal, you know, out in this universe, out in that galaxy, superheroes, all very serious. You know, it was just a nice breather. So it does work, linking them all. I'm not saying don't do it, just do a load of independent of each other films. No, kind of link it in a shared universe, but don't see the reason. Might be a good idea. What I'm getting at is to ditch the phase thing. Ditch the phase thing, maybe just give it a title. You know, maybe if you Infinity War and all the films, you know, Ant-Man, Infinity War, you know, Loki, Infinity War, whatever it is, Kang, the Kang-verse, whatever it is. I'm sure they'll do another multiverse. Anyway, don't get me on the top about multiverses. I'm going to leave it there. I know I've kind of thrown out a load of questions, but despite that, it's bloody good news and good riddance, Victoria Alonso, and I hope all of your subordinates that allowed you to behave in the way you did and corrupt this IP in the way you did, I hope they're all going soon as well. And on that note, I will bid everyone adios.